Good evening. Good evening. I'm Essie. I'm the founder of Products That Count. Party, you got this tonight? I wrote this book. The first copies arrived from the printer today, and so I thought I'm going to give everybody in the Products That Count community a copy. And guys, I need your help. I need your help with this. I need you to give me your feedback. I need you to tell your friends. I need you to read it. I need you to critique it. I need your help making this a bestseller, because that's what my publisher is saying. They want to get all this money when I do all the work, and you help me do it. So please, 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 help me. I spent 9 months writing this book. I put a lot of thoughts into it, and I hope you really, find some value out of it. All right. Lauren is looking at me and she said, "You just forgot the most important thing." I did. All right. Please raise your hand with the book in it. Everybody. We want to take some awesome shots of everybody who is mobilized. Yay! Just a few more seconds. Please raise your hand, everybody. Thank you. All right. Okay, now everybody's warmed up to hear Geoffrey, which is really the celebrity tonight. I just stole a little bit of the show. Thank you for letting me do that, Geoffrey. Before I introduce you, I want to introduce our awesome sponsor, Yelp, who is going to be represented by Tomer tonight. Yelp is providing this amazing venue and has been our champion since we started Products That Count 2 years ago here in San Francisco. And they have this amazing space, and now we're filling up every time. So, Tomer, great. Thank you so much for your support.
Of course. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Yelp. Want to say we love hosting Products That Count every month. This is one of my favorite meetups, and I'm really excited to have gotten one of Sophie's books. We'll definitely be getting it soon. Quick shout out. We are hiring across the board for product managers, designers, engineers, data scientists, excuse me. So if anybody is interested in a job, please come find me. I'll be sitting in the back under the glowing Yelp sign, or Cole will also be sitting in the back under the glowing Yelp sign. We'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Tomer. So at the end of the talk, we're going to do a couple of things. One, we're going to have a few giveaways. Geoffrey is offering 3 copies that are signed of his book. And so if you want to get one of these, you need to tweet with the hash code PTCSF. And we'll select 3 winners based on your tweeting activity. We want to get this out. Second, we'll do a series of shout-outs. And shout-outs are super popular. If you have something you'd like to share, you're looking for a job, you're offering a job, you want people to try your product, you're looking for money, you're looking for startups to invest in. We've had all of that. What I'll ask you to do after the talk is line up here, and you'll have 10 seconds to share your news. And then at the end, I'll also be available in the back, and I'll sign copies of my book. All right. So without further ado, I want to introduce Geoffrey Moore. So Geoffrey Moore, I've known Geoffrey through his book, which I've read like 3 times, like cover to cover for the last 15 years. He was a complete like icon in Silicon Valley. And I heard him speak at a talk maybe a year ago. And I was like, oh my God, I can talk to the man in person, right? And the only thing I said is, hey, Geoffrey, I have this speaker series. I'd love to invite you to speak. And he said yes. And I was like, oh my God, like he's coming to my speaker series. I'm so honored that you're here and very much looking forward to this talk. Thank you, Geoffrey. Let me change this for you.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, thank you for coming to listen to an old man. I'm a frameworks guy. Crossing the Chasm is a frameworks book. So were the subsequent books were elaborations of variations on the framework. Tonight's work is kind of a crossing the chasm inside the belly of a whale problem, which is how does an established enterprise both maintain its commitments to its existing line of business and catch up with the next thing, or at least keep the next thing from catching it. And so the book is called Zone to Win. It came out of work that I've been doing with Salesforce, the executive teams at Salesforce and Microsoft. And so it's about 10 or 12 slides. I just want to share with you the framework. I think it'll be helpful. Let me get a sense of the room. How many people here work in a startup-like environment? Yeah, startup. Okay, so that is crossing the chasm. That's the first time around. How many people work in a established company, a larger company? You either got acquired or you just work in a larger company. Okay, this is more for you. And for those of you who are at the startups, IPO liquidity is getting kind of tough these days, so you might get acquired, in which case you will have this framework for you as well. Okay? Okay. All right. So let me kind of work you through it. So just the driving function here is, we always like to say we live in a special time, but we live in a special time. And what's going on here is we are having these disruptive innovations, and disruptive innovations just, something people keep talking about. But what's going on is we're getting this cascading series of disruptive innovations. And we talked about convergence for a long time in the 90s, but really nothing converged. Well, now it is. And the importance of a disruptive innovation is when something that used to be scarce and expensive becomes ubiquitous and cheap. And I think the way you should think about it is it's essentially free. Okay? So you say, okay, cloud computing, basically that makes automating anything free. I mean, not quite, but pretty damn close, certainly compared to 15 years ago. Now, have we automated everything? No. So, wow, free automation. Maybe we should think about that. Mobile means you can communicate with a billion people on this planet for free. Now, by the way, that's literally true. It's free. You don't pay for the device, you don't pay for the internet, you don't pay for the network, you don't pay for anything. Right? So, gosh, we can communicate at any time with anybody on the planet at will. Are we doing that? Probably not. Wow, maybe that's a disruptive opportunity. Social networks, now social networks is an interesting one because you think, well, I mean, really, liking cats for free? I mean, who cares? But if you think about it, Uber is a social network. Travis Kalanick adds a car and a driver to his network for free, right? He doesn't pay for the car and he doesn't pay for the driver. Brian Chesky at Airbnb, he adds a piece of property and a property manager to his network for free. Now you think about, whoa, there's a lot all of a sudden the gig economy has made it very clear. We have enormous capacity to deliver value to each other for free or for a small amount of money. But basically you don't have to set up these laborious systems. So very interesting. Data science is not free yet, right? Data science is actually very expensive. If you have a child, you might want your child to marry a data scientist or be a data scientist because the signing bonuses are pretty damn good. But the point about it is, once you write the algorithm is free, right? I mean, it runs for free. It doesn't negotiate cost of living increases, okay? So, and Internet of Things means I can now take this optimizing of digital systems, which I can optimize for free, and now I can optimize the world. Now, are we there yet? No. Are the sensors out? No. But you can kind of see where this thing is going. And so all of a sudden what's happening is in the most traditional companies you've seen, I mean, these are not tech companies at all. People are going, wow, the design rules for the world have changed. It's a digital world. It's digital first world. We need to rethink everything. Okay? And that's kind of why we're in this room. It's why it's such an exciting place to be in San Francisco right now. This will move trillions of dollars. We saw kind of the client-server internet thing do a version of this in the 90s with kind of the back office systems. This is changing the front office of the world. This is changing every relationship in the world. Healthcare, education, retail, hospitality, it doesn't matter. Love, marriage, war, everything. Okay. Now, let's suppose your company has decided to leverage these capabilities, which are essentially free, and bring them to the world. And the question then becomes, and this is a B2B model that I'm going to share with you right now. How many people here are in a B2B business? How many people are in a B2C business? Okay, about 50-50. This is a B2B idea that I want to share with you right now. When you bring your offer, which is leveraging one of these miraculous, or maybe more than one of these miraculous capabilities, the customer can absorb that at the infrastructure level, which means I'm not going to change my operating model. I'm not changing my business model. I'm just going to run my infrastructure faster, better, and cheaper. So I'm going to use cloud computing. I'm not going to build a data center. I'm not going to buy a bunch of storage. I'm going to use AWS, and I'll get it. I'll get Elastic Cloud. That kind of idea. I'm just changing my infrastructure. Save money, good stuff. Or they can say, no, that's not what I want to do. I want to change the way I work in the world. I want to use this stuff. I still want to be in the same business. I still want to charge the same customers for the same services, but I want to deliver those services dramatically differently. And by the way, I will need new infrastructure to do that. And then the third one is, no. Given all this stuff, the old business model is just stupid. I mean, is this crazy? No, you should not have to stand on a street corner waving your arms hoping a taxi will stop for you sometime before you die, right? You should be able to summon one on a phone, right? So it's a different business model, which obviously implies a different operating model, which obviously implies a different infrastructure model. So the key idea here is you're selling at different places, and I'm spending time both with Salesforce and Microsoft. You can kind of watch their Salesforce trying to sort this out. So both Microsoft and Salesforce have very, very strong relationships here. The good news is the budget is in place. There's a very clear value proposition. The bad news is the value prop is basically to save money in 1% of the total budget of the company. So most companies spend about 1 to 2% on IT. And the value proposition is of that 1 or 2%, I can save you 10% of whatever you're spending on me. So it's like pfennigs. I mean, it's like basis points of savings, but it's still a lot of money, and it's there to be, the money's already there. When you go to the operating model, the money is not there. If you sell technology, you have to get these people to think, I'm spending my money the wrong way. In a digital world, I should not be hiring more people. I should be funding more programs. In which case, I should take money out of my operating model and actually give it to the infrastructure model in order to get more digitally effective. Okay? So the good news here is that's the other 99% of the budget, and the amount of money you could save is ginormous. The bad news is you have to get a relationship with this person who doesn't know you and probably doesn't even think they're supposed to talk to you, and convince them to repurpose their resources and then get them into this budget, and then you got to go to this person and sell the offer. So you can see that it's a more demanding thing. And then finally, at the top, this is like catching lightning in a bottle. So this really is Travis and Brian and folks like that. But occasionally when you get those people, they just change the world. So the key idea here, and it's something for you to be thinking about as a product manager in your go-to-market, depending on what value proposition you're packaging your product around, you're going to ask of your colleagues in the go-to-market side of the house different levels of effort, different levels of complexity, different demand with different rewards. And one of the cool things about startups often have a charismatic founder who can attract attention here. They're just that kind of person. Okay. Once you're in a larger company, this is less likely. This turns out to be possible if you can get your people out of the rut of doing this. But once technical companies get very large, it's so much easier. The low-hanging fruit is in the green area, even though the sweet fruit and the really juicy stuff is in the blue area. So it's a big challenge as a product marketing manager when you think about positioning and packaging and what you're going. And I just want you to appreciate that so that as you're plotting your market development strategy, you sort of take into account both the risks and the reward of the model. So what happens under the pressure of this in a large company? So what happens is we always talk about the antibodies. We talk about the innovator's dilemma and, the large company that doesn't innovate or it does innovate and then it kills everything after, the corporate antibodies strike them dead, et cetera, et cetera. And I got kind of tired of the metaphor, not because it wasn't true, but because it wasn't actionable. You couldn't vaccinate against the antibodies, right? I mean, it was like, you're just going to die, right? So it's like, that seems like not a very good healthcare method. So I wanted a different framework. And so but I wanted a framework which explained the resource allocation dilemma of a large enterprise. And so the two key variables here are, is it a sustaining innovation or a disruptive innovation? So sustaining innovation means it's innovation. When Intel comes out with a new microprocessor in the 8086 architecture, that's real innovation. But it's not disruptive, right? It just kind of goes right into their system. So that's sustaining. Disruptive innovation is like, I have to rip and replace it. I actually cannibalize my old business. I threaten my current ecosystem. I need early adopting customers. I mean, it's a very, very different motion. So most companies understand that the organization that's going to do this and the organization that's going to do that, probably not the same organization. And so they say, okay, let's separate those two. The other one is who's bringing in the money and where's the money getting spent? So basically when you say, by revenue performance, I mean in big chunks. So we use 10% of total revenue as how you get over the line. If you have a product or a line of business that contributes 10% or more of the total revenue of your company, you get to be above the line. If not, if it's a new product, or if it's maybe a cost center, you're in HR or legal or customer support, you don't make any money, you spend money, you're below the line. Okay? So basically, you look at that and you think, all right, that didn't seem like rocket science. The nice thing about those four squares is you can be pretty literal about where people go. This isn't like, well, I don't know. How do you feel? It's pretty concrete. So the performance zone is where you make 95% of your revenue and probably over 100% of your profits from your existing lines of business. So if you are Salesforce, this is Sales Cloud, this is Marketing Cloud, this is the platform, this is Service Cloud. If you're Microsoft, this is Windows, although not as much money as it used to. This is Office. This is, it's the big chunks, okay? And basically the key idea here is people, if you're in this zone, you have a number in your compensation plan. You either sell what we make or you make what we sell. But either way, you have a number. If you sell what we make, you have what they call a bookings number. And if you make what you sell, you have a revenue number. But there's a revenue. You have a number to make. And if you have a number to make, you're in this quadrant. If you don't have a number to make, you're not. So most of us in this room, I don't know, how many product managers here actually have a number built into your compensation plan? Yeah, so a few. Not many, okay? Most of us in product management will be here, which is the productivity zone does all the work behind the scenes to make the performance zone successful, right? And then the performance zone likes to take the credit, so just get used to it. But the point, so this is finance, legal, HR, customer support, marketing, everything every program or system you can imagine that the company needs to stay out of jail, so be compliant, be efficient, and be effective. It's all run out of here. Okay. And by the way, in an industry that's not being disrupted with the 5 waves of innovation, you're done. That's 100% of the company. We're done. We can go home. But in this world of disruptive innovation, virtually all companies of any size have said we cannot be that ignorant of disruption, even though we're not disruptors. We're Hallmark cards, we're Ford. But we can't ignore the fact that the car is becoming a digital artifact, and the greeting card is becoming a digital artifact. So we at least need to have some part of we should take some of our money and put it in the incubation zone. Highly disruptive, but not at scale. Okay? Not at scale. So it's experiments. Fail fast, be agile. Every cliche you've ever heard about innovation all goes here. Now, what's interesting about large companies is virtually all large companies that I interact with have all 3 of these zones in place, and they all operate reasonably well, and they kind of get along with each other in a sort of arm's length way. The problem statement is with the 4th zone. So the 4th zone is, I am going to take a disruptive innovation and I am going to turn it into a real business. I'm going to take something that might be 1% or 0.5% of total revenue, and I'm going to take it to 10% of revenue. Basically what I'm going to do, this is a stopping place on my way to here. I'm going to take this product or this line of business and I'm going to scale it to the point where it is now part of my major book of business. It's part of the performance zone. Okay? So the difference here is that this zone doesn't exist. The other three zones do. You can find buildings. You can go to your company. I can walk into your company. I can find out which floor these organizations are sitting on or which buildings they're in. Usually this one's often in another building, right? Sometimes an acquisition, right? But you can't find this, okay? This zone exists in the CEO's presence. The CEO is the only job in the company that has the power to reallocate resources in order to make this happen. Because here's what's going to happen. We're going to go through a J curve. We're going to say, I'm going to take resource. In order to get this to scale, I have to take these people and put them to work on this. Well, just think about that for a minute. I'm taking resources from the most profitable thing I can do, that I can do with the least amount of friction, and I'm pouring them into something that is the hardest thing I can do. It's not clear it's going to succeed. And there's no ecosystem. In fact, my existing ecosystem is in resistance to my idea. And my existing customer base thinks I'm crazy. And the customers I need to go, I don't even know. I mean, you see, and so what happens is you start going through a J curve. So I don't know if you ever read The Divine Comedy by Dante. Might not be in your reading list. But anyway, Dante divided the original J curve. You go Inferno, Purgatorio, Paradiso, okay? And Paradiso is great. But you got to go through Inferno first. So that's what these things are about. Now, if you're in a venture-backed startup, score. Venture is about J curves. Venture capital is designed to invest in J curves. It's all that it invests in. But a large company does not. Particularly a large public company has investors who expect steady as she goes returns. And you go into this J curve, and initially it's not that bad. And you kind of say, we're going to do it. And everybody's cheerleading. And this is the new big thing. And we're so excited. But then it's like, holy crap. And it gets worse and worse and worse. And at some point, the chief financial officer says, stop. You know, the investors are after me. The stock price is at risk. We're missing our guidance, blah, blah, blah. And so right in the middle of these things, time after time after time, we say, you know what? We got to pull back a little bit. We're not abandoning it. We're just going to pull back a little bit. Well, if you take your foot just slightly off the accelerator, it signals to everybody in the world, see, I told you so. They're not going to do it. So, and you cannot get it back. You cannot get it back. So the sad fact is that, you know, an enormous number of transformational opportunities are started and a staggeringly few are finished. And when you look at the ones that have finished, if you look at, you know, Apple and Amazon and Salesforce, it's almost always because there was a founder, a Steve Jobs, a Jeff Bezos, a Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, you know, Mark Benioff, who just says, we are going to make this happen. And so the CEO will just drags everybody kicking and screaming, including the board of directors, and says, we're going to go. And by the way, we're going to go through the J curve, and we're just going to do it. If you don't like it, sell my stock. Okay? Most companies can't do that. And so the question became up, well, gosh, if that's true, should we just stop? I mean, could we just stop? And, you know, Einstein's vision of insanity, you know, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Well, we've been insane for about 30 years. So just, you're kind of part of the insane generation too. Because by and large, that's been the performance. So that was the thing we said, I'm not willing to accept that. So if you're not willing to accept that, how would you do this differently? So the idea behind this is, first of all, you zone your plan. So you have to understand that each of these zones has a different set of rules, a different set of playbooks. And I'm going to show you 3 ways to work the zones, and then we'll take some Q&A. There's only like 4 more slides. But the first one is to say, okay, I want to be the disruptor. We call this zone offense. So you're on the attack. You have invented lightning in a bottle, and you are going to take it to scale, which means you have something here that is amazing. Whether you invented it yourself or you acquired the technology, it's really cool. And you have this big sales force and big support for, you got a big footprint, but it's in service to another generation, another products. But we got this here. What are we going to do? What we're going to do is we're going to move it into the transformation zone, and that's going to become the number one priority for the company. Now, what does that mean? That means when the head of sales comes to the CEO and says, you know, I'm at risk of missing my number because you're having me spend so much time on this thing, I'm not going to be able to make my number over here. You want me to make my number? And by the way, the answer has always been, well, yeah, you have to make your number. As soon as you say that sentence, it's over. You're done. Because if I have to make my number, I will make my number, and you will never get through the transformation zone. So the first answer has to be, yes, I want you to make your number, but this is the number one priority. So one of the ways you do this, if you're not the founder, is you say every member of the executive team, which might be as many as 20 people, their discretionary compensation for the next 3 years, because that's about how long this is going to take, is like 75% dependent on whether this one initiative is successful. Regardless of whether it reports to you, regardless if you have any say about any part of it, that's the deal. So what happens when you do that, by the way, is you'd be remarkable how much collaboration you can build among an executive team, right? Okay, because all of a sudden what was going on before was these guys were saying, well, good luck with that, but I'm going to make my number. And all the product owners here were saying, well, good luck with that, but, you know, I get most of the resources because I'm a big guy. It's like, no. We're all playing that. Once you play that, then the second thing is, okay, but this is, I mean, it's not like investors are going to let you off the hook. You're going to get in trouble for missing a number here. Okay. But, so it's a huge priority, but it doesn't trump this. And then the productivity zone is, oh, for God's sake, would you give us as much help as you possibly can because we are going to need it. And so you have a shape that looks like this. And the idea is to unite the company around, we are going to revolutionize our business model by taking a new capability and changing our portfolio. If you think about Apple's performance in the time, let's say, well, Steve came back in 1997, but nothing really happened for 6 years. About 2003, 2004, the iPod comes out. So he added 3 businesses to the Apple portfolio. He added a music business, a phone business, and a tablet business. And he resuscitated his PC business. So he ended up with 4 businesses. Their stock price went up 50 times. Now the NASDAQ during that period went up 140%. They went up 5,000%. Okay? Amazon added Amazon Web Services, it went up 1,300%. Salesforce adds a platform business and marketing cloud, they go up 1,200%. But like Oracle's up 150%, IBM's down 30%, Cisco's, flat. I mean, everybody else is kind of flat to the NASDAQ. These guys are doing these remarkable things. This is what that's about. Having said that, this is not the norm. Most companies, this is a big bet. And it takes courage, and it takes conviction, and so God bless it when it happens. It is not the most common bet. The most common bet is this one. Not zone offense, zone defense. Zone defense is, I'm not the disruptor. I'm the disruptee. I'm about to get my lunch eaten. I have a perfectly good business, and it's taken a hit. So this is not Salesforce. The first one was Salesforce. This is Microsoft. Microsoft had 3 of the very, very, very best businesses in the history of this industry, right? Windows, Office, and the SQL Server and all the back office stuff. Well, cloud pretty much takes care of their back office on-premise business because there's no premise. Therefore, whoops, well, that's not going to work. And mobile kind of pretty much took care of Windows. So Windows has like 1% share of mobile. That's not a big share, if you're used to larger numbers than that. And they had 85% share of whatever it was of desktop. And totally, the total is, they still have a big share of desktop, but total devices sold, they have less than 20% of the total footprint of the world now because it's so over-rotated toward mobile. So the Windows things took a hit. And then Office, Google Apps gives away what you sell. And by the way, it's a lot more easy to collaborate in Google Docs than it is with Office, right? So really, really tough problems. So the key thing we learned from Microsoft, and basically this is why it was so important that they got a new CEO and the kind of CEO they got. You cannot fix a business that's being disrupted if you leave it in the performance zone. Because it cannot make, if you insist that it make its number quarter after quarter after quarter, they will do it for a while, but they'll harvest the business. Basically, they'll cut, and they'll end up making a profit number long after they stop making a revenue number, because they'll just cut more than their decrease in sales. So if you're going to fix your business, if you're going to become relevant again, and the shock of this decade for me is Microsoft arguably has become relevant again. I would have said that was impossible, okay? But they have. And what they did under Satya, and it started under Ballmer, but Ballmer had the wrong personality for this. Satya's, they moved the business into the transformation zone. So the first one was Azure. So their most profitable business, back office, SQL Server, BizTalk Server, all this really cool back office stuff under the table, on a server under the desk kind of thing. And they said, no, it's Azure. But Azure's cloud, right? It's not as profitable as this. I know, but it's the priority. So KT, who runs their sales thing, and their whole sales comp is, we're going to comp people on Azure much better than on the traditional product, even though the traditional product is more profitable and easier to sell. So they do that. Cloud first. So Azure has now actually gotten past the tipping point, and it's now back here. Azure is now an anchor part of Microsoft's successful stock price right now. It is, Amazon is 6 times bigger than Azure in terms of a cloud. I don't know where Google is in this thing, but if you ask CIOs in the enterprise, what cloud do you want to be in? They want to be in Azure. They don't want to be in Amazon. They don't want to be in Google. If you ask developers in this room, they want to be in Amazon or in Google. So it's not like there aren't good businesses, so they fixed that business. So then the next thing was Office. Again, Office is incredibly lucrative on your mobile device, your laptop. They said, no, we're going to go to Office 365. What happened was Satya told a guy named Chi Lu. So Chi used to be at Yahoo. He went up and he was running their search engine business, Bing, and then he got all the apps, all the Office software. And Satya said, okay, here's your assignment. We have a mantra now. It's cloud first, mobile first. And she says, great. I have no product that's cloud and I have no product that's mobile. But let's go. Okay. So Office 365 is their version of cloud first Office. That they took that, and again, harder to sell, not as profitable, whatever. They brought that over here. They also bought a Comply, which is a mobile Office for iPhones. I can't remember what they put on the Android, but they got Office on every device, and they give it away on mobile. Okay, so basically, you couldn't do that in the performance zone. See, you have to bring it into here and say, we're going to change the rules. You have CEO air cover to do whatever it takes to get this thing back in power so that I can now put you back here. I had an interesting experience. It was almost a year ago. I had 20 CIOs from Silicon Valley in a room. These are really good tech companies, not Microsoft-oriented, Apple-oriented, Google-oriented. I said, well, so Office 365, what do you think? 19 out of 20 said, we're going to Office 365. I went, really? Yeah. Just because it's so much there. And so as a result, Office is going back here. Now, Windows Windows needs this treatment. It hasn't gotten the treatment yet. You can only do one at a time. These things are so disruptive. You can't go through 2 J curves at the same time, right? Dante did not have 2 trips. He just did it once, right? Okay. So that's the priority. Now, when you go here, by the way, the first thing you need to do is you need to rob anything you have in the incubation zone that can modernize this antique called your legacy business, right? So these people had, no, don't touch my stuff. I'm inventing the future. I'm sorry, it's the present, right? And so you rip it out of their hands and they cry. But it's the way it goes. And you say, I will do whatever it takes to modernize this business because this is my cash cow I've got to put back in here. And yes, I still care about this, but this is now the center of gravity in this game. And it takes the CEO has got to, in both cases, activate this thing. Nobody but the CEO has the power to tell everybody else in the company, we're reallocating your resources, okay? And then so focus on modernizing the operating model is what you're doing there. Now the third one is, you know what? If you could do one successful disruption a decade, you would be in the top decile, in tech at least. And in other words, 90% of tech companies have never done a second one ever. And none of them have a strategic plan which says we're not going to try. So that means every tech company at scale has a plan every year to take something from here to there, and 90% of them never get one ever. Okay? So if you did one a decade, you'd be world class, which means for most of a decade, don't do one. Right? This is a bad idea. So the idea then is, look, run your performance zone, run your productivity zone, run your incubation zone, and just thank God, that this is a year where we actually get to do business in a normal way. And don't try to disrupt yourself. And for God's sake, don't read a book about disruption. Just do it, right? So the point about it is there are three models here. These are all plausible models. Now they're frameworks, right? So it's a framework, but it's an attempt to create a vocabulary to have a conversation about resource allocation inside a company. And when we start this conversation, we normally start by saying, well, let's just take the annual plan and where are you allocating resources today? And do you have any intention to do a transformation? And if not, you're probably okay. And if you do, then we have to worry about going forward. So the last slide I'll just give you is if you think about a large company with disruptive innovation, what we normally, and this is one that maybe isn't completely comfortable with disruptive innovation, you say, okay, well, whatever it is, bring it into your incubation zone first. Meaning put it in an outbuilding and experiment with it and see what it is and get your hands dirty or get involved with it. And then here you have 3 exits from the incubation zone. You can just say, you know what? This is interesting technology. We can use it in our infrastructure, and we don't have to bother the rest of the company. It's fine. It's okay. We're going to bring your own device. Wow. Okay. Bring your own device. Don't do anything different, but bring your own device. Okay. That's good. So but basically, that's kind of cool. Wi-Fi in the conference rooms. Whew, okay. All right. But the truth is, Wi-Fi in the conference rooms is a lot better than not Wi-Fi in the conference room. So it's good, but you're not changing much, right? It's a low risk play. This one says, no, bring your own device. And by the way, we're going to put our CRM system on the mobile thing so our salesperson can meet with the customer and know about the order and blah, 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 blah. We're going to change our operating model with the new technology. We're still going to be in the same business, but we're not just putting Wi-Fi in the conference rooms. We're changing the way we do business. And then the third one is, no, we actually want to change our business. We're going to add a whole new business. It's a new business model. And so the idea behind this is if you have a company where you have a very strong board CEO relationship, this is an option. If you don't, just don't go here. Go here or go here. You can do quite a lot in this triangle without ever having to go through this. And if you get directly attacked, you got to go here to recuperate, right? And if you want to be bold, you got to go here to win, zone offense and zone defense. But an enormous amount of disruptive innovation from those 5 waves can be processed without ever having to put your company in play, which is kind of the idea of that. Okay, so those are the frameworks. This is the book. It's just designed to create a vocabulary for larger companies and sort of kind of crossing the chasm inside the belly of a whale is kind of the way we talked about it. If you're a startup, by the way, you get funded here. Crossing the chasm takes you to here. That's the big transformation in a startup. When you kind of get bigger and get ready to IPO, you'd be here. And then you start worrying about your public company earnings, and you're here. And then if you want to do it again, you're here. Okay, so that's it. First of all, thank you very much for listening. I appreciate that. Do we have a little time for questions? Okay. So we have a little time for Q&A. Or if your crap detector went off, please, okay, there's right over here. This band's crap. No. So, SC, do you want to give me your microphone? Or do you guys not do that? Just shout it out? Shout it out.
In your
Yeah.
class warfare.
Okay, so see these blue lines? they're walls. No, seriously. These zones are not compatible with each other. One of the normal things that happens that's bad is this zone starts asking this zone to live up to the same metrics. Like, what's your expense to booking ratio? Where's your contribution margin? Blah, blah, blah. No. Each zone has their own metrics, their own rules, their own success. This is all about creating options for the future, not money today. So these three, it's kind of go to your room. I don't know if you've ever had a lot of children, but you say, go to your room. Okay. That's how you play that game. Yeah. Yes. Please, just shout out. Oh, gosh, yes, hundreds. Let's see. Iridium. I don't know if you know Iridium. That was going to be Motorola's, satellite, 65, whatever many electrons are in Iridium. That was about $100 million smoking crater. Intel's bubble memory. Let's see, how many things did Microsoft get halfway? Cisco with virtually all of its innovations in the last 10 years. Really, seriously. I mean, no, look, so Cisco's a great company, and by the way, but look, and I spent a bunch of time with them doing a book called Dealing with Darwin. So it's a router company, it's a switch company. Maybe it's an enterprise computing company. That's a little bit of a stretch, but you could do that. But for example, they had this incredible thing called telepresence. I don't know if you ever saw telepresence. It was amazing. And it was very expensive. It was like $250,000 for a telepresence room. But when you went into it, you could be anywhere in the world. So it's kind of cool. So anyway, they bought another company that had a $25,000 telepresence solution. They got that business was like at $700 million. You think, well, score, we're here. No, it's a $30 billion company. How big do I have to be here? $3 billion. So you're $600 million. So you're 2%, not 10%. The reason 10% is so important, the people here have to make their number. If I'm a salesperson, I can't spend a lot of time on 2% of my portfolio. I can't. So you got to be 10%. So 600 million, but it was growing at 20% per quarter. You think, well, okay, this is going to work. And then the J curve hit, and the CFO went, do not land on this carrier. And he said, look, we can't live with this. We've got to put it back in general distribution. This overlay sales force, it's very successful, but it's incredibly expensive. And in fact, the more successful it is, the more expensive it is. So, but this thing's selling like hotcakes. Put it back in the sales force. We'll get our E to B, our expense to bookings ratio back. We'll be fine. Put it back in the sales force. It had been growing 20% per quarter for 8 straight quarters. It shrank 20% per quarter for 8 straight quarters. Okay? You cannot take your foot off the gas. Okay? Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Yes.
I'm curious when you and early wants one of the guys information.
Okay, so the question was, if you had 3, like Microsoft had 3, right, and you want to put one in the transformation zone, is the question, do you have to, so the question again is, do I have to allocate?
What do you make to set?
Yes. Right, okay, from make to, right. So the resource allocation is, if you commit to put something in the transformation zone, either from here or from here, the way you play that game is when you start the annual planning funding process, you say, I will fund this initiative until I cannot spend another dollar. Now, it turns out you actually run out of, there is a point that happens fairly quickly where you can't really productively spend another dollar. But your point is, if I can spend another dollar here productively, that's my first priority. Whatever is left over, that's what goes here. And by the way, once I have one of these things here, you guys need not apply for 3 years. So anything in here, you have to find another way out of this zone, because the last thing we're going to do is let a second one up here. Okay.
Jeffrey, just
yeah.
a question on that. Sorry.
Yeah.
When you're talking about spending the dollars wisely, right?
Yep.
Category.
Yep.
You're talking about dedicated sellers or blended?
Oh, I see. Okay. So one of the questions is, could I get away with a blended thing here? I think it's risky. So I think the issue is, I cannot deprioritize this in any way. So If you told me I could do a blend that didn't deprioritize this, fine, but I'm skeptical. So my instinct would be no. Yes?
Quick question about integration zone. You didn't mention ecosystem, right? Salesforce, obviously, big success. Marketing Cloud only exists because it nurtured an ecosystem to reach it.
Yes. Okay, so important question, but which is, by the way, after you get, let me tell you the question. Well, the question is around ecosystem, and I'm going to twist it a little bit, and I'm going to try to answer it, but I want to answer something first, which is Salesforce. Let's go back to Cisco's problem. Yeah. If you're a $30 billion company, you cannot organically grow to $3 billion in 3 years. I mean, it's impossible. So that means that part of the solution here is acquisition. In the case of Marketing Cloud at Salesforce, Mark bought a company called Buddy Media. He bought a company called Radian6. Both were subscale. Both had trouble getting traction. So then he bought a company called ExactTarget, which was about a $700 million business. Or no, again, not at the time it wasn't that much, but it's now gotten. But for 2 years, Marketing Cloud was here. And now it's here because it's big enough to be there. But that ecosystem thing, the ecosystem is part of the way you get leverage. It's really the power of your company. One of the easiest ways to see the power of your company is how much is your ecosystem contributing to your success. Because no company can be more powerful than its the ecosystem is really the magnifier of any company's power going forward. One more question? Okay, so right here, yes.
Google is the performance zone, Alphabet is everything else, that the deciding rights shareholders regard as option value. The CFO of Google architected that switch. How would you communicate option value in a world where that is hard to value and subject?
Yeah. But so this was actually a great question. So the question was, Google, as you guys may know, divided itself up into the search engine business and something called Alphabet, which is everything else. Self-driving cars and, virtual. Okay. So last question. This is good. So the question is, if you're the CFO, how would you explain that to the investment community? So the CFO actually came in, and basically the investment community was so thrilled they couldn't stand it because they were afraid that the Alphabet was going to be blended in with a search engine that was just going to dilute, and they had no control. So actually the CFO said, I'm going to take the search engine business and I'm actually going to make it more disciplined. I'm going to improve the contribution margin of that business every quarter for the rest of time, which means I'm going to throw off more cash than most nations. Okay. So that was great. The Alphabet stuff looks like corporate entertainment to an investor. It's like, okay. But Larry and Sergey and Mark Zuckerberg did the same thing at Facebook, said we have two classes of stock, mine and yours. Okay. Yours financially participates. When we want your advice, we will not ask for it. So we're going to follow our decision processes, not yours, and you have no power over that. And if you don't like it, don't buy the stock. So that gives them a lot of freedom to do this. I am very skeptical that the Alphabet is ever going to generate a result, but I'm sort of born. I mean, I would, I would have betted against them the first time too. So, brilliant. Okay, I'm going to turn it back over to SC. Thank you very much. I enjoyed having a chance to talk to you.
Geoffrey, thank you. We have a present for you, a notebook from Products Account. Thank you. That was amazing. Thank you very much. All right. We're going to go ahead with the shout out. So if you have something you'd like to share, please gather up here. I need 5 more minutes of your time. While people gather, and please don't hesitate and go ahead and do it. While people do that, I want to share the results of a survey that we did last time, and we're going to do that every month. So if you look at your email right now, you should have an email telling you, like, how did we do? Last month, we inaugurated that, and we got a net promoter score of 70%, which is pretty awesome. And our speaker was really, really good. I mentioned that to Geoffrey on Monday when we did our prep call, and he said, oh, piece of cake. I'll do better than this. So please help him do better than this. Another thing that survey was saying is you guys want more networking time. So we opened the door a little bit early now at 6:45 instead of 7. And we're trying to end the event a little bit early also to give you more networking time. But please continue to fill out these surveys. It's 3 questions. It's very, very easy. You can do it while I'm talking as long as you're paying attention. And it really helps us serve you better. Okay, so now we're going to do the giveaway. And please gather for the shout-outs. Like, I only see 2-3 people, and usually, like, after the first person, like, there's a ton of people getting up. So please don't hesitate and do it. Okay, so our number 1 winner is Dmitry Kozedubov. Dmitry? Please come and get your book. Here you are. Congratulations. I think you won something before, like a jacket, right? He won something like a couple months ago, and it was a Ducati jacket, and he modeled it for all of us. Okay, David Grosov, you won a book. And Sandro Ribeiro. All right. Okay, congratulations, guys. Okay, now shout-outs.
Thank you, SC. Hi, everybody. I'm Laura Maish. I'm with Hult International Business School. If your company is looking for interns, we are having an internship fair on April 22nd. Come and see me later if you'd like to talk about it. We're looking for internships for our students. They're all masters in business or MBAs. Thank you. April 22nd. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Usually that's exactly the right thing to do. I just want to say something. Several of our volunteers at Products That Count are from Hult, and they're fantastic.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Ian. I founded a custom furniture company. We use 3D printing to make furniture, and we just launched our private beta. It's a custom table lamp, so we're looking for beta testers. So if you want to know more about us, I have photos on my phone to show you. It's all free, so find me. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. I'm Eric Du. I'm one of the founders of Bullseye, and we make a product that is a product that counts, actually. It's this. It's on the back of my tablet. It's on the back of my phone. I can hold it without having to worry about it. Everyone here has a mobile device. You worry about it. You strain your fingers. You drop it. You break it. For a fraction of the cost, I can give you a great experience, and I can save you money as a business. I'd love to talk to anyone here further about it. Thanks.
Hello, my name's Lee. I graduated about a year and a half ago, and I just got done with 2 large or big hip surgeries, and I'm looking for any help if anybody wants to give me a chance. Thank you. For sales, by the way.
Hi, I'm James, founder of Printify. We are print-on-demand platform. We launched on Shopify 5 months ago. We grew from 3 people to 12 people now. We are the most popular app on Shopify. We are now raising seed round. Well, we are in the process. So we print t-shirts, phone cases, etc. We are the software company linking the online merchants to those printing companies. It's a $180 billion industry. So we are confident that we can become a unicorn, and we are looking for sales and account manager out of San Francisco. Thank you.
All right. Any more shout outs? Okay. All right. So this is what happens next. I'm going to be available at this table over there to sign my book. Please spread the word. I really need your help to build something that counts. Next week, we have a conference, Manifesto, with the founder of Tinder, the VP of Amazon Echo, and a bunch of other stellar speakers. I hope to see you there. And then next month, we're hosting here again Tim Chang, who's a venture capitalist. He's the managing director of the Mayfield Fund. He made the Midas Forbes Top 100 investor list a couple years in a row. And he's going to talk about how messaging is eating the world. Now there's more time for networking, and thank you.